Mish. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my October budget, but before I get into that, I just wanted to briefly talk about some things that happened in September. So some of the major payments that I had coming out in September, one was my car insurance. I pay that every 6 months. That's why that particular portion is so high. Two, I also took a trip to Mexico. If you guys haven't checked out that Mexico vlog, I'll be sure to add a card in so that you guys can look into that. A personal finance class, and when I tell you, it has been like a wealth of information. So that class came up to $496. So $426 for the actual class, and then $70 for the book. It's definitely something that I find myself looking at frequently, and I can definitely see myself constantly referencing back just because I'm being exposed to so many new financial terms and just kind of how things really work. So for me, I like that kind of stuff, so that's good. And then also too, my job does do tuition reimbursement, so the actual class will be covered as long as I get a C or better. I just have to wait until it finishes, which is sometime in December, but hey, at least I will be getting that money back. And then the other thing was a personal loan, so I had gave out some money, and then this is the amount that's expected to come back to me in October. I'm not going to include it in my October budget officially unless I get it. I feel it's one of those things where it's already gone. So once I actually get it, then I can add it into my budget, because otherwise I'll just kind of be setting myself up for failure if I add it in and then I don't get it back. So as far as my October budget, I will say that everything is pretty much the same. There's no new additional bills really coming out. One thing in particular, you know, student loans, of course, those payments start back up October 1st, but they started accruing interest on September 1st. So I just logged in today, one, to make a payment, and then two, to see how much interest that I've accrued, and I've already accrued over like it was $141. So that's definitely something where I'm just like, oh, it's been so long. Oh my gosh, like I don't like this. I don't like this at all. But yeah, I'll definitely talk about that a little bit later when I get into my actual goals for the month. As far as student loans again, I looked at my interest rates. So my loan that is worth $5,000, that interest rate is at 5.75. My loan that is at $13,000, that interest rate is 5.59. And then my loan that is for $14,000, that interest rate is at 5.96. So of course I will be tackling the first loan that will be paid off by the end of this year, and then I will move into the second one. But with that, while I'm making these additional payments, so my automatic payment comes out and it's like a combination of all three. So after that payment comes out, anything that I have going extra will just be towards that $5,000 loan alone. And then from there, once that paid off, then I'll, take that same process, repeat it, and apply those same techniques to the loan for $13,000. But when it comes to my budget, one thing that I've realized for quite some time now is that the bulk of my bills come out in the first half of the month, because I have my mortgage, I have my HOA fees, and then I have a few utility bills. And I would say that those few things that I just mentioned probably account for at least 80% of my bills. So with that being said, if you haven't caught my video on mapping out your bills, be sure to catch that video. But anyway, so being that I know that 80% of my bills is due in the beginning of the month, I essentially just always go through those 2 weeks before I get paid again and be like, hey, these bills are coming out of this account. I need at least this amount of money in there. So just be mindful of that when your actual bills are coming out, in conjunction with when you're actually getting paid. So moving on to goals, but before I move on to goals, let me know in the comments, what are some of your financial goals that you have this month? I strongly advise for people to have yearly financial goals as well as monthly financial goals. So ideally, those monthly financial goals should be in conjunction with your yearly financial goals. They're just kind of mile markers to make sure that you're moving along at the right pace and achieving the amount of progress that you hope to achieve. So for this month, my goal is to purchase a CD, make 2 student loan payments, and then pay $4,000 towards credit card debt. Like, girl, thought you didn't have any debt besides student loans. I didn't. But one, I made a personal investment, which was, it was quite a bit. I'll get back to that someday in the future. So that was one thing. I put my trip on my credit card, and then there was a balance that was previously left over. So with that being said, credit card debt is some of the worst debt to have, just because of the APR are typically outrageous. And then another factor within that, which I'm learning from my class, is that most credit card payments are 2 to 3% of your overall balance. The reason that they do that is because they want to extend the amount of time that it takes individuals to pay off their entire balance, because at one point it used to be set at 5%, but you had 2 categories of people. One that were struggling to make the 5% of the entire balance, and then you had the other group of people that was paying it off fairly quickly, and the credit card company was like, hey, if we lower the payment, 9 times out of 10 people are only going to pay the minimum, therefore we will make more money in interest in the long run. But anyways, going back to that, so certain things I will only purchase on my credit cards. So stuff related to trips, I don't want my banking information out on the internet, and especially the way that all this fraudulent activity and people getting hacked and all that good stuff. I would rather have a new credit card issued than have a new debit card issued, where one, my paycheck is attached to, and 2, I have a lot of my bills. So then that becomes, hey, this is the new card number, and it just seems like more of a hassle, where I think I have 1 bill attached to my credit card, so that wouldn't be that big of a deal if I had to get a new card issue. So I just feel a little bit more safer and more secure. And because of the perimeters / laws in place, when you report fraudulent activity and the amount of time they have to investigate it, and then automatically crediting you back anything that was lost to you and all that stuff. So I would just prefer to have certain purchases on my credit card versus my debit card. So that's just me. That's just how I go about things. So as I said, I do have $6,000 worth of credit card debt as of right now. I know it's sickening. Right, student loans are starting back up. So I'm gonna pay $4,000 of that this month, and then the remaining $2,000 of that next month. So within my 3 goals that I outlined, I know I will be able to make the 2 student loan payments and then pay the $4,000. As far as opening up the actual CD, I don't really know if that will happen. So that's more of a stretch goal. So stretch goals are things that are kind of like 50-50. They could happen, they could not happen, but at least they're there to kind of, like push you, because the other 2 things, I know that they're going to happen for sure. So that's just a little bit something for me to strive towards in general. For some reason, I don't know why, like, I'm a little excited that student loans have started back up, because I've given myself a whole until December of 2024 to pay off all of my student loans. So right now my balance is at $32,141, and however much a cent was attached to that. Within that goal, my goal is to pay off $7,000 by the end of this year towards that, and then the remaining $25,000 all of next year. Very doable. I think that I could pay it off sooner than that if I decide to do a little bit more overtime at my job. So with that being said, that is something that, especially from November to early December, I will definitely be picking up quite a few overtime shifts just because of how my job does sellback checks and things like that. I want to make sure that I maximize that, and that's going to be quite a bit of money, one going to my student loans and two, a little bit of money going back into my emergency fund. Now, I'm not really all that alarmed or discouraged. I know that once I start getting in the groove of things, I kind of get like, oh, okay, let me make a payment, let me make a payment, let me make a payment. Let me see how this loan is decreasing. Probably should have been paying a little bit more than what I did during the forbearance, but hey, this is where we're at. We're gonna make the best of the situation. But one thing that I do know for sure is that some people might look at this and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like you have so much debt. To me, because of the amount of overtime or how quickly I know that I could acquire this money outside of my standard paycheck, it's really not that big a deal to me as long as I stick to the things that I say that I'm going to do. Now, if I don't, it's going to turn into, now it's the end of the year. I've accrued so much money in student loans, and then my interest rate on my credit cards have already been skyrocketing. That is not a good position to be in, which is why knowing your own spending habits, saving habits, and how you act in regards to money is a good thing to know. That's something that I'll be talking about a little bit later on. But just to hold myself a little bit more accountable, I think that I am going to do just like weekly videos, like super short, like anywhere between probably like 3 to 6 minutes on like a Sunday, just updating you on what my credit card balance is and then what my student loan balance is until, you know, end of the year. Let me know if that's something that you guys are truly interested in seeing. I do have a slight fascination with debt, just like people getting into debt and how they view debt. And then I recently learned about the debt safety ratio. So ideally, in order to come up with your own debt safety ratio, you would take the dollar amount of however much money you pay towards debt. You will divide that by your monthly take-home income, and then you will come up with a percentage. They suggest that it shouldn't be no more than 20%, but ideally it should be between 10 and 15%. Right now I'm at like 11.89. So I do want to get that down. Now in the future, I don't see that being at zero for me, just because I do want to invest, and it's not going to be all my other money. So I mean, in the future, hopefully mine will be somewhere between like 7 to 10%. I think that that will be good. You guys should kind of do your own debt safety ratios and let me know what those are too. I just figured that out in my class, and I was just like, okay, like let me find out that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my money. Not really, because I still got credit card debt, which is such a sickening thing. And I was just like, ew, how could you? And I'm not even a credit card person like that. So I just kind of looked up, but as I said, $6,000, I'll pay that off between October and then November, so that is good. But that's all that I have going on. You know, in the comments below, be sure to let me know how often you're working on your goal, and as usual, take time to enjoy your own journey, and I will catch you guys in the comments until the next video. Bye.